Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar. Run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we have seen some fairly up and down conditions this week with some thunderstorms around in the southeast today, some warmth elsewhere with some sunny spells, and that is going to kind of continue over the next few days. Maybe not too many thunderstorms, but still some patches of rain, but also some patches of warmth and brightness. However, into early next week, we have been watching the risk of a more lively low pressure system moving through, and there's pretty high confidence that that will be moving through now. It does look like it's going to be moving through parts of northern Scotland. Its exact northern or southern extent is still yet to be determined, but the rough track is through central to northern Scotland, and it could be a really quite severe system for this time of year. Any other time of the year, sort of during the winter months or maybe spring, it'd be more of a standard low, or maybe sort of yellow warning worthy. But yeah, being in midsummer, it is going to really catch everyone out. And yeah, definitely think some yellow warnings could be issued, maybe even named, but we'll have to wait and see over the weekend for the exact details on that. But 60-70 mile per hour winds, heavy rain, and a really quite well organised low pressure system there. It is a bit of a blip though, because beyond that, as we see from the longer range charts, high pressure actually starts to take over, and as we head into the early portion of August, it starts to turn actually really quite warm and staying pretty dry. There is some runs that start to produce lower pressure beyond that towards the middle of the month, like the GFS, but most do keep high pressure around. Hot air masses not too far away, as we've alluded to so far this week. There is the risk of heat returning to mainland Europe. Again, how much of that will extend towards the UK? Some runs quite a bit, others not so much. There's a whole array of scenarios in the longer term, and it is going to keep us on our toes in the next couple of weeks. So do remember, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see a little bit of topsy-turvy conditions through this evening. Caught this around 9:30. And you can see a few odd showers and storms clearing the southeast. They're a little bit more widespread earlier on today, especially around the morning into the lunchtime period. But they've now cleared for most, and some sunshine came out this evening. Further northwards, some more showery rain towards the Scottish border, but for most, not too bad this evening. Temperatures, as said, are not too bad either. Again, they really kind of go hand in hand with where we've seen rain and where we see some brightness for parts of England and Wales. It's really not bad. You know, we're looking at kind of 20 degrees still, maybe dropping towards the mid-teens. So still quite a warm night, and expect warm days throughout the rest of this week into the weekend. Now, if you look at the latest UKV now, you can see those showers and storms clearing away earlier on today, and there'll be a few more showers overnight as we head into the first day of August, and there will be, again, some more heavy showers and a few odd thunderstorms through Friday afternoon, but again, we're not expecting anything too widespread. Progressively, as we head into the weekend, into Saturday, not too bad in the morning, again, a few showers during the afternoon, but again, clearing for most. And as we head into Sunday, maybe a more persistent band of rain moves in for northern areas, but majority of that real heavy stuff does clear through in the early hours of the morning. And for most, by lunchtime, heaviest rain cleared, just some dribs and drabs of cloud and light rain remain. Potentially another low arriving into Monday, and this is that severe low. You can see it approaching, initially not too bad during Monday morning, but then look at the hook on this system that starts to develop with some really heavy rain for northern Scotland, and you can see this well-organised hook indicates a pretty severe and organised low pressure system. See here, towards the north of Scotland, heavier stuff actually does clear northern Scotland quite quickly, so perhaps not the biggest rain event with this. Still will see some high totals and some high amounts, but we're not seeing the hook stall or anything like that, and that could, if that occurred, that could drop a lot of rain in a short space of time. The big thing with this will be the wind during the middle of the summer. We do see storms like this, you know, every few years they come along. But yeah, this could be notable if this sort of pattern does come off. But of course, it's still 4 or 5 days away, so there is some uncertainty. Eventually, it all clears through into early next week, and eventually, high pressure builds in. And again, we're not expecting too much more disruption later on next week. If we do put on the mean sea level pressure for that low moving through, you can see it really spins up quite quickly into Monday. You can see the centre of that low moving through parts of northern Scotland, deepening to around 980 80, does it get down to 984 there? 82 millibars. That's really quite deep for the time of year, and again could cause issues on that southern flank where those winds are very strong. If you look at those wind gusts, you can see initially not too bad on approach, maybe 40-50 miles per hour. As it does move through Scotland though, could peak at around 60, 70, maybe 80 in exposed coasts and over the higher ground. So it could be really not a great system there. So again, we'll have to firm up on those details, but this definitely would be yellow warning worthy. And given the time of year, the fact that people will be out and about, people will be up in Scotland, perhaps on holidays, then perhaps even amber warnings and maybe a name status for this system. Again, we'll clarify that, and then look at those winds as it clears out into the North Sea, up towards 90 miles per hour. Again, maybe the UKV overdoing it a little bit there, but that is something to keep a very close eye on, as that would be named, that would be amber warning worthy any time of the year. That clears and things do die down, still gusty into Tuesday, but generally looking better. To look at the max temperatures today, widely around the high teens, low 20s, but again dependent on where the cloud and the showers move through. First day of August, we're kind of hovering around average, maybe slightly below average, 18 to 22 degrees. Into Saturday, again, not too bad, temperatures getting up towards the 20 to 23 degree range, pretty pleasant. Into Sunday, again, we're looking at 20 to 24. Monday, perhaps warm in the south, 22 degrees, where we avoid the heaviest rain. Across Scotland, though, those vicious winds, heavy rain, thick cloud, 9 or 10 degrees at best, feeling really cold, especially over the higher ground. So really poor conditions there as we head through Monday. That's as we head into the evening, perhaps peaking maybe 13 or 14 during the day. Beyond that, into Tuesday, again, pretty chilly further northwards, maybe only 10 to 14 degrees, further southwards, 22 degrees. So you're starting to see the impacts, some slightly fresh air moving in for Scotland, halting those temperatures, max mid-teens, maybe low teens, or even high single digits in the worst spots. Now, do check out the latest GFS now. You can see as we progress over the coming days, not too bad, nothing much going on, until that low that's just exiting out of northeast Canada heads our way. See it gets picked up by the jet stream, develops into a really quite severe system as it clears northern Scotland. UKV is probably a little bit more intense than this GFS run, but nonetheless, both are showing it developing, and the fact that it develops very quickly means there is a lot of uncertainty. There is going to be fine margins in how this forms, which will decide where it does go. Beyond that, high pressure eventually does start to build back in, and it doesn't look too bad through early August. High pressure in control, potentially hot air masses moving in. You can see heat is starting to build across mainland Europe, but it kind of sort of flirts with the south coast, but it doesn't fully move in. Watch what happens beyond this. Low pressure gathers. Yes, heat could be around for a couple of days, then it turns unsettled and pretty cool and chilly and poor, if we're being completely honest. So GFS, bog standard, very similar to the other runs out to kind of day 5, day 7, as we'd expect. It goes pretty hot and dry. That's a pattern we're expecting as we head into early August, or at least we've had some expectations of that. And then there is a bit of a spanner in the works, bringing low pressure, northerly winds come the middle of the month. So again, a few bits of uncertainty in there. But yeah, GFS definitely going to be all over the place if this run did come off. If you do look at the latest GM out towards day 10, again, high pressure in control. That low really moves through, looks pretty vicious there through Monday, really spinning up, so that's similar to the UKV. Eventually clears, again, some lower pressure systems moving through, and eventually by day 10, high pressure is in control to our east, low pressure out to our west, a bit of a southerly flow, so could be pretty lively, but you can see heat does move in, the 20 guys firm moves in. So this maybe not quite as settled as we'd like, but my gosh, it gets the heat in. If we do zoom in, we'd expect to see those temperatures really skyrocketing in the southeast. High 20s here. We'll expect low to mid 30s in that afternoon, or in the subsequent days. Expect those temperatures to really rise, going from 20 degrees to 29 in the space of 12 to 24 hours. We expect to go even higher with that heat moving through. Finally, if we check out the latest ECMWF, probably very similar. That severe low moves through early next week. High pressure does come back in, and by day 10, low pressure just out to our north and west. High pressure with warmth sat across Europe, and again, a little bit of a battle going on between that low and the high, and how much heat and how much dryness do we sort of see pushing in. So still some uncertainty there, but both the GM and the Eastern WF, a bit of a battle, but not going full-blown northerly winds and unsettled conditions like the GFS. So perhaps that's a little bit of an outlier, but we'll have to wait and see. We do finish by looking at the latest ensembles, latest GFS, up and down over the next week, as expected, with this westerly flow, low pressure moving through. But later on next week, when that high pressure moves in, potentially southerly wind, you can see the warmth does build, some spikes in heat appearing, does drop down a little bit beyond that, but most still stay above average. Precipitation up and down, but still fairly low, so fairly strong confidence, at least for the southeast, for some high pressure to stay in control. And finally, if we compare to the latest ECMWF, midnight run hasn't fully come out yet, but if we look at the midnight run, very up and down over the next week or so. And then generally, longer term, similar to the GFS, big sort of rise in the heat and looking pretty dry. But again, we'll have to confirm those details near the time. So definitely looking unsettled over the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing too crazy apart from that low through Monday. And then some autumn dryness conditions returning for the middle of August. Again, we'll have to look at that in detail near the time, but definitely interesting and could bring some summery conditions back. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.